Alright guys, how we doing today? It's another edition of the Browns, bringing you the freshest and tastiest in all that brews. I'm Glenn, I'm your host for the Browns, also the mastermind behind Brewed There, Drank That. That's what you want to call it. I'm not sure that's the right term, but we're going to figure it out. What we've got today is craft beer in a can. I know, it sounds weird. Can it be? Can good beer come out of a can? Well, if you haven't heard of Oscar Blues, obviously your head's been under a rock. However, not dealing with them today. What we are dealing with comes to us from the lovely town of Garrettsville, New York, and it's called Butternuts Brewing. They produce 4 beers that I'm aware of right now. This is their I.P.A. Also, I think one of their tastiest offerings. As you can see, almost looks more like a can of lemonade than it does beer. I'm going to leave the rest of that implied as to what that means. An American IPA. This one comes in at 6.3% alcohol by volume. I found that out by looking it up on the website. Ideal, odd, maybe, both. Label is not going for an informative appeal, so you're not going to see OG, you're not going to see IBUs, you're not going to see ABVs. One of those things where you really got to swing in and check out the website if you want to know. Here they use 2-row barley, they use a touch of Cara Pils malt, and they use whole cone or whole leaf American hops. It pours a bit on the thick side, and the reason for this is they're apparently malt fanatics at Butternuts. Right here on the can, in fact, it actually says all malt. Now, what that's actually a reference to, not entirely sure. Could mean I'm a little slow. Who knows? But I can tell you that most of their beers pour in an unfiltered fashion. Their Hefeweizen and the Snapperhead I.P.A. are 2 fantastic examples of that. So definitely thick, orangey, almost brown at the center of our beer. It gets translucent towards the edge of the glass. A little bit on the orangey side. Still a touch of yellow in there, though. It's the color hasn't quite congealed all the way. The head, white, frothy, not rocky. I wouldn't call it super well structured, but it does seem to be sticking around at least a little bit. Now on the nose, overwhelmingly, I get malt. I pick up on the Cara Pils malt more than the 2-row barley, but almost entirely all malt on the nose, which, if you're trying to trick somebody into becoming a hophead or trying an IPA, may not be a bad way to do it. Hop forward, a lot of hops at the beginning, and then the malt picks up about 2/3 of the way through the flavor profile and kind of just rides it out nice and smooth. There is a bit of that citrusy, almost resiny kind of lacing left behind. I wouldn't call it over the top, but it's definitely on the bittering side, as opposed to more like an aroma side. I have to say the flavor profile is a bit on the deceptive side. I would actually, just based on the way the flavor plays, I would have guessed this to be around 7%. A little surprised it comes in at 6.3. No reason to go over the top with everything, though, so I suppose their brewers have done it for a reason. Actually, a really nice beer for a hot day. Primarily, they tend to brew lower ABV stuff. Their Hefeweizen, which is their Hefeweizen, surprised me because it actually came in above expected. Typically, Hefeweizens are high 4s, and if I remember right, that one was almost 6. But tasty stuff, and yet another awesome way you can support your local economy, your local brew culture. You know, you're buying American, and it's a little different because you can go meet the guy who brews this. It's not somebody hiding behind a curtain of money, flying their own freaking jet, that kind of thing. You know, you get to work different ways, but it's one thing to actually be able to talk to the person who puts the work in for you, you know? So that being said, guys, get out there, give Butternuts a try. Find a beer, find a friend, make something happen. And we'll see you next time on the rounds. Malty.